Just as the pen is mightier than the sword, storytelling, at least in some situations, creates change better than fighting or arguing. This is the 9th in my series on stories that re-enchant. There's some good evidence of the power of story to reach across all kinds of divides. Religious, political, ideological. I've collected some of it at my website. If you go to chalquist.com, and there's a menu section called Read and Watch. Up near the top, there's an article called The Power of Story. There's some research in there, also on imagination and how it makes change in the world. I wanted to give you two examples of stories, one ancient and one recent, that themselves look at this power to change minds and hearts in ways that are more gentle, more post-heroic, as Sharon Blackie would say. Not so much oriented on action as quieter kinds of change that are still effective. So the first one comes from the stories of the Dene, formerly known as Navajo. And I'm thinking of the warrior twins. So the first one is Nyaneskani. His name means killer of alien gods. He's usually shortened to monster slayer. He's the extrovert. He's the one that gets all the press. He's heroic. And he goes around with his brother, Tobadzitsini, who his name means born of water. So where Nyaneskani carries a magical bow and arrows, Tobadzitsini carries a protective staff. He's the darker brother. He's very introverted compared to his brother. Both are sons of the sun and earth. And one of their quests is to find their father, their birth father, something I can relate to. I think I'll say more about that on the next video, actually. But there's all these great stories about how the warrior twins, the hero twins, kill monsters in order to make the land safe, make Denetas safe for the people. So oftentimes what happens is Born of Water holds up his protective staff while his brother goes into action and he kills Rolling Rock, he kills Yetso, the man-eating giant. And when they kill these monsters, the monsters they turn into stone and they become part of the landscape. It's a great image. So the thing about Born of Water, born for water, born from water, it's basically the same thing. He comes from water. You'll see his name in different ways. He's got a unique power, a superpower. He's a storyteller. So in situations where the heroism approach doesn't work, he swaps stories, and that reconciles the issue. That solves the problem. So there's an example of how stories actually comment sometimes on the powers of stories. Second example comes from my fiction, my book Tales of Terrania Rising, which is a story collection. If you end up reading my fiction, you can either start there or with Soul Mapper, either way. And by the way, Tales of Terrania Rising is free. So if you go to my website, under fiction, you can get it there on different venues, different platforms. So there's a story about a woman named Diane Gwynedd who isn't satisfied with the usual peaceful warrior approaches to making change. This all takes place about 60 or 70 years from now, by the way. It's speculative fiction. So she lives in a world where there's a lot of fighting. She's a martial artist. She's pretty much studied every art that exists, including a couple of arts created by women. So that would be the White Crane style of what in the West is called Kung Fu, and also Wing Chun. And she thinks, well, maybe we need a third one. So for one thing, she has practiced and continues to respect Aikido and its practitioners. But look at what Steven Seagal did to it. She wants something that you actually can't use to attack people, an art like that, purely defensive. She's aware of the peaceful warrior motif, philosophy, whatever you want to call it, but she's not peaceful. Sometimes she is inwardly, but when you're in conflict, especially when it's going to get physical, you don't have time for a meditative state. And she's passionate. She likes herself the way she is. So the other thing too about nonviolent approaches, which she's in favor of, she stands for that. But when it takes the form of passive resistance, when somebody's beating you down and you're just laying there, oftentimes their contempt for you increases. And she doesn't want that. She realizes psychologically that you need to be strong when you're faced with injustice. So she invents an art called Irenite, which is named after the Greek goddess of peace. And she uses it in the story. And it's effective to the point where it impresses onlookers who then join her. So eventually, this part is not in the story, but you're the first to hear about this because I'm writing about it right now. She founds the Order of Irenic Knights. So anyone of any sex and gender and location can join as long as they're serious about nonviolence. So that'll be, I'll mention that in a forthcoming book. Be a while before it's out. So there's two examples, perhaps, both technically fictional, that demonstrate the reality which research supports, that sometimes the way to solve things is by swapping and telling stories.